You're listening to Big World Network.
Amazing Grace, Episode 9. Written by James Hellvig, read by Meagan Hedin. Taking his hand and pulling him forward, Regis smiles, telling Alberto, "Come on, I told you. Mimi is working a double again. We have to hurry if we're going to make it." Squeezing her hand in return, Alberto bids a hasty goodbye to Tammy and the milling students, following Regis down the hall and out the back door. Hurrying down the alley and into the street, they walk quickly, speaking little. Turning into an alley 3 blocks from Regis's building, they increase their pace to a light jog. Nearing the end of the dimming passageway, a group of gang members stride around the corner, blocking their path. The lead member hails Alberto. "What's up, cuz?" Spreading his arms wide and chuckling, the tattoo-laden man continues. "What's your hurry? We want to get to know your girlfriend better." Skidding to a halt, Alberto turns, intending to reverse direction and sprint back the way they'd come. Swarming in from the other end of the alley are more gang members. Fear narrows Alberto's vision and increases his heart rate. Looking at Regis, who is clutching his hand tightly, he says harshly in a low voice, "Stay behind me. When I make an opening, run and don't look back." Regis nods jerkily, her eyes darting back and forth on the men closing in on her. How could I be so stupid? I've got to protect Regis. Where in the hell did they all come from? Taking a deep breath, Alberto says loudly, "We don't want no trouble, I say. What do you want?" Closing the distance between them, the cold-eyed speaker replies simply, "Everything." Inhaling deeply, Alberto releases Regis's hand and explodes forward, shouting, "Now!" His rising front kick catches the startled gangster by surprise, striking full force into his groin and crumpling the tattooed spokesman. As the group swarms in, Alberto strikes the nearest man with an open-handed strike to the throat, causing him to gag. Another man grabs Alberto's hair from behind. Stepping back and torquing his hips, Alberto drives his left elbow into the man's face, breaking his hold. Grasping the attacker's wrist, he pivots in a half-loop in the opposite direction, flipping the man and shattering his arm with the sharp snapping sound of green wood breaking. In his peripheral vision, he sees Regis punch a grinning gang member in the nose, breaking it with a wet crunch. A fireplug-figured man with close-cropped spiked hair slaps Regis viciously, the impact knocking her to the ground. Enraged, Alberto turns, screaming, "No, you bastard!" In seemingly slow motion, Alberto runs 2 steps, leaping into the air as the thick-necked man turns to face him. Using his full body weight, Alberto drives his right elbow into the side of the man's jaw and cheekbone, feeling the force of the impact up through his shoulder and snapping the attacker's head back around. The large man topples, spinning like a redwood felled in the forest. Rushing to Regis, Alberto is struck first from the side with a punch to his head, and then from multiple directions as the mob swarms him, driving him to the ground under a flurry of blows. Regis is face down and unmoving as Alberto tries desperately to cover his head and roll towards her. He is driven back by a series of kicks to his side and arms. A heavy work boot penetrates his arm, smashing into his lips, shredding them and knocking out a tooth. Bright dots fire in his vision as Alberto struggles to remain conscious. Another kick comes in and he grabs the leg, taking the faceless assailant to the ground and pounding punches into the hapless man's groin until he is knocked aside. Crawling, arms outstretched, Alberto moves on pure instinct, trying to clear the throng until the work-booted gang member stomps his left arm, breaking it with a firecracker pop. Moaning, the searing pain rolling over him in waves, Alberto vomits. Snapshot images are all his dimming awareness records. Regis being dragged towards a large dumpster. Shouted, nonsensical orders by a thin, hard-faced man he's never seen before. His own battered and bleeding hands and the debris-littered asphalt being splattered with his own blood. Snail-like, Alberto continues to crawl, now towards the alley's exit. Father Bernard, Mother Steele, and Tammy stand chatting in the hall as the last of the students leave. The rear door slams open and a nearly unrecognizable figure stumbles through, collapsing in a heap. Sprinting forward, Tammy reaches Alberto as the young man struggles to rise. She shouts over her shoulder to the trailing priest and nun, "Call an ambulance, and the police!" Looking at the battered features of the moaning young man, Tammy's heart both breaks and hardens. Alberto's eyes are dilated, and he's obviously suffering from a concussion. His face is covered in blood and his lips are in ruin. One eye is swollen shut and his nose appears to be broken. His tattered shirt reveals that his chest, side, and back are covered in dark bruises and his left arm is badly broken. Probably got some broken ribs. Son of a bitches are gonna pay. Squashing her anger, Tammy helps the young man into a sitting position, leaning him against the wall. Alberto, it's okay. You're safe now. Who did this? Where's Regis? At the mention of her name, Alberto's focus sharpens and he grasps Tammy's shirt lightly with his right hand, his brown eye locking onto her blue ones. MT, you gotta help her. Those punks were dragging her behind a dumpster. I tried. Sobbing and grimacing with pain, Alberto rattles off the location, finishing with, half the damn gang is there. Must have been over 20. You gotta get more help. Meeting the young man's pleading gaze levelly, Tammy tells him, the police are on their way. You stay here. Rising, she trades places with Mother Steele as the nun kneels, tending to Alberto's injuries. Quickly stepping down the hall, Tammy retrieves a set of wooden eskrima sticks and, passing Father Bernard at a trot, tells him, keep everyone inside. I'll see if I can distract them until the police get there. Protesting as Tammy heads out the door, he sputters loudly. You should wait! Well, be careful! Squatting to assist Nancy, the head priest grumbles, nobody ever listens. You'd think I wasn't even speaking. Answering over her shoulder, Mother Steele replies softly, we hear you, George. Have you been praying for patience again? Snorting, the older man gives his longtime friend a dirty look, saying haughtily, even I know better than that. Muttering under her breath, Mother Steele replies, one would certainly hope so. Sprinting down the city blocks, Tammy grips the sticks loosely and regulates her breathing. Half a block away from where Alberto said the gang should be, she slows to a trot, scanning the upcoming street, looking for a lookout. Seeing none, she enters the alley, expecting an attack. Instead, there's a knot of gang members huddled around a large dumpster more than halfway down, catcalling and jeering unseen cohorts. Going cold, Tammy lightens her step and approaches undetected until she is nearly upon them. As the first man to see her shouts in alarm, Tammy explodes forward with a screamed, blood-curdling shout. Hi-ya! Sticks moving in a buzzsaw blur, a dozen sharp cracks and dull hollow thuds echo in the sudden silence as she scatters the crowd. 3 men fall and another 2 clutch injured limbs. More still have gaping head wounds and bleed freely, staggering away. Tammy lashes out kicks, shattering knees, showing her opponents no mercy. Moving in a tight semicircle, Tammy glimpses Regis lying face down, her hair matted and her pants down around her ankles. Tammy has reached the side of the large trash receptacle near Regis's feet. The ferocity of her attack scatters the gang members, making their counterattack uncoordinated. In the distance, sirens wail. Hearing the approaching police, the remaining men hastily pick up their comrades, yelling insults and threats as they drag them away. Sweating, her breath coming in short, controlled rasps, Tammy surveys the alley in both directions, searching for assailants. Breathing deeply, she turns. Shoving the sticks into her waistband and squatting by Regis's side, she rolls the woman towards her. As Regis's hair falls away from her face, Tammy's eyes widen in surprise. First from the sight of the violet eyes staring back into her own, and second from the twin-pronged ambush being sprung in perfect harmony. A thin, gaunt-faced man steps from behind the dumpster swinging a baseball bat, Babe Ruth style, at her head, and in Regis's right hand is a needle-like dagger that she thrusts towards Tammy's heart. Son of a bitch! Dropping to her right knee, Tammy begins to roll forward, tucking her chin, her left elbow dipping down and inward, her torso desperately twisting away from the blade. With her right hand outstretched, she jams her thumb at the knife-wielding woman's exposed eye. The blade rams home a split second before the bat impacts the back of Tammy's head with the crack of an infield fly.
This has been a presentation of Big World Network. Visit us on BigWorldNetwork.com for more free weekly series, or follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Thanks for listening.
You're listening to Big World Network.